of security and protecting it. So no,
Mhm.
that's awesome. So how did you get into cybersecurity?
Yeah, my major is in that area, so that's why I think I joined. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but
So your major is in cybersecurity.
It looks like he's
yeah,
in
yeah.
cybersecurity now.
Just a second.
All right. It seems like he wasn't aware that this was going to be a TV
Oh,
show.
you're kidding me. Okay, yeah, Mr. Kim, you're like broadcast worldwide. Oh, we can put you on mute so you can take your phone call. Just a minute.
Well, I
Kim,
think
you know
he's
how to do that,
talking
right?
to the person who invited him, which is the guy Rana
From
from
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
Sharif from Malaysia. Yeah, he texts me all the time, so I do kind of
Hey,
know who he is.
Nick, if our bookshelves were the same color, we would look like we were
I
in
know,
a
right? It'll all go together.
room.
You could actually do that if you want to, if you're
I'm
psycho.
sitting here moving my bookshelf.
Well, why
Going
don't we go around the world and find out what's going on, and let's move to Canada since he showed up first. Alexander Starr, what's happening in the great country of Canada, and you give us a report from Russia because we never get to talk to anybody in Russia.
Oh, thank you, Nick. In Canada, things are pretty well stabilized, and it appears to me that more or less in next 2 to 4 weeks, things will become much more open, and the new cases are still appearing here and there, especially in Toronto, more than anywhere else, unfortunately. But it's a very specific area of the city. We are talking about low-income population, and that's where, unfortunately, the cases are still appearing more or less, even more in the last week or so than before. But certain steps are being taken now, and it will be taken care of, I'm pretty sure. Speaking about Russia, it's a different story.
Yeah.
Except Moscow, Russia is all low-income area, as you know, and therefore there should be many more cases than they're reporting. I'm pretty confident about that. And the tradition of lies and misinformation, of course, continues and will be. And by the way, I was listening to very interesting um, talk of Jordan Peterson, um, who lectured his students about significance of Solzhenitsyn's work, Gulag Archipelago. And he was accusing Western and specific American um, universities and academia in general not paying enough attention to this great work and therefore hiding from so-called liberals and all students what's the true nature of Soviet system, specifically socialist or communist, or you can call it any way you want, but when they are killing uh, tens of millions of their own people, is it important how you call that system? Probably not. However, the result is obvious, but all the universities in US, most of them for sure, they have liberal agenda, and they have all these left-leaning professors who are doing nothing but sitting there guarding their um, credentials and essentially is accusing them of hiding from Americans the true nature of that Soviet system. And that explains why today so many, especially young people, they are leaning toward the thinking that the capitalist system, and particularly US system, is all wrong and they have to do something else. And that something else just might be so-called Soviet system. Well, be my guest, and and you can criticize Dr. Peterson and myself, but that's what I've heard, and that's I would tend to agree with him.
Okay, well, I'm sure there are I love these big terms like liberal and conservative and all that stuff. But here's my question, because I like to deal with issues rather than
Sure.
sweeping, as they say in law, sweeping generalizations. Okay, my question is this: did you ever talk to anybody in Russia, and can they see our show in Russia? That's just pure factual. They can or they can't.
Oh, well, surprisingly enough, people are watching. It seems to me, I'm not talking about thousands of people, but a few are watching chess shows simply because of the immediate connection to somebody like Shirov specifically, or even lesser names. So
Yeah.
that's a fact. Now,
Were they able to see your show in Russia? That's my question, I guess. The chess show.
oh, I see, in real time, yeah.
Right.
I have to actually ask.
Okay, yeah.
I know that, you know what, I know that some people here in US, for example, Marty Hirsch, our programmer in California, he can't, for some reason, watch it in real time. He can watch when it's recorded later. So, but in real time, he can't watch it. He can't figure out how to do it. And I think that in this invitation to watch the show, we have to probably spend a couple of lines explaining how actually they should do it. Because, okay, they want to see, okay, it's 3 o'clock, and they're going to IBM TV, they're going to YouTube, they're going here and there. They can't find it. On IBM TV, they show something else, apparently.
Really?
Why?
Okay. All right.
I never tried it myself, so I can't verify.
I was able to see it in real time, so that's the reason I didn't really have an issue. But what happened was that on the front page, YouTube blocked it as inappropriate material. Obviously, they messed up. I'm serious. This week's show was blocked on the front. Then you go down below, and you could actually see it live real time. But you had to go down below. So I went in and I posted, you got to go below if you want to watch the show, because it was actually blocked as inappropriate material. Now, why YouTube would think it's inappropriate, chess players could be very dangerous to the world. Think about it, Alexander Starr. So what you guys are doing, you have a number 2 player playing weaker players, and they're beating them up. Something's wrong here. And so the robots decided that it was inappropriate. Now the robots came back and said, hey, it's okay anyway. Which gets me is that ultimately our political lives will be determined by computers and robots anyway, and we're going to fire all the politicians in the world. We don't need them anymore, and all your social issues are going to be determined by computer bots and programs. It's already happening. Hey, it is.
A bot would be more fair to me than a human. So
possibly even the legal system will be improved. Rather than having a judge go, "Hi, my name is Hal. I am your computer judge. What is the charge? The charge is he did this. I will find him guilty. Let me go look at the sentencing guidelines. By the way, there are sentencing guidelines for every crime. You will be spending the next 15 days in jail and then on probation. Have a good day. Click. Next case, please. You don't need Judge Judy anymore.
You don't need lawyers anymore.
You don't need lawyers. You're going to have every
problem with the law. Our system is so messed up that a lot of people person cannot sue.
The system is weird, but we'll probably have to a whole day discussing the weird legal system in the United States. But the thing is, the future will be just bots, which we're already finding out broadcasting IBM TV around the world that a lot of our decision making through Facebook. Okay, Facebook goes, you have sent too many ads to too many people are listening to you. You will not be able to send any more out. Click. I'm going like, okay, Facebook. I'm not kidding. Too many people are watching your show. We don't want that many people watching. Click. Okay, and it's happening right now as it is. So, but my curiosity, just for curiosity's sakes, is there's 2 countries, because we've had a lot of people all over the world on. Kim was from beaming in from South Korea just earlier, and then he beamed out because he's got cryptocurrency issues. Okay, so we got people from all over the world showing up, but 2 places I haven't heard anybody from, Russia and China. mainland China, not where you're at, Rakesh, in Hong Kong. And I'm curious why. Now, arguing about, hey, the political system's bad, the economic system should be improved. Okay, that's the subject of another show. I just want to see, does this work or not? And right now, I've heard no one from mainland China, no one from Russia, but from even Africa, all over the place, we get people. Rakesh, speaking of China, what's the report on Hong Kong? What's going on in Hong Kong?
I went to the city today because we had an appointment with the New Zealand High Commission, and everything was just fine. There was no sort of unruly things or anything. It was just, business as usual. The crowds were a little more than usual in the trains, and looks like everything's just back to normal. I think I normally don't go to the city, but we had some work, and then so I went to the consulate, and then when I went to another part of the city too, no problem. So Hong Kong seems to be fine. Mainland China, that even Google is not available in mainland China.
Google's not available in mainland China? Are
no,
you
it's
serious?
not.
How do they block it? I didn't get him on it. See, I don't know enough about technology, how you block stuff. So Google, boy, we should make an announcement. Google, you're not welcome in mainland China. Hey, speaking of mainland China, we have.
They know it. They know it. Google knows it.
Yeah. If you have a Gmail account, you won't be able to access your account in China. You can access in Hong Kong, but you can't access in China.
Well, IBM TV is trying to be friendly to all countries, so we have access to all countries. But interesting thing, we had two things that took place here: protest and riots. And there's a difference. Protests, peaceful; riots, it's not so peaceful. And Hong Kong, China may have to be dealing with that issue. And I'm just curious how they're going to deal with it. We don't have to discuss that right now, but I was thinking, hey, we're dealing with it over here. Ultimately, it's going to be transported over to Hong Kong. We'll see how Xi Jinping deals with it. It's not my problem. That's the reason I'm not president of any country. It's their problem, but I'm just curious how they'll deal with it. Let's move on to India. Ankit, what's going on in the great?
Nick, I'll just add one more point in between. So Shenzhen, Macau, and Hong Kong are in one lane. It just maybe an hour or 2 hours difference. So a lot of people who are in Shenzhen, when they have to check their Gmail account, they come to Macau and check it and then go back.
You're kidding me.
Seriously.
Okay, right. No, I know. Well, the thing
someone
is,
told me that a lot of people visit us just to check their email accounts, which is bad.
I know we're beaming into Hong Kong right now because Rakesh is from Hong Kong, but mainland China, I don't know about. I don't speak Mandarin. I can't talk to Mandarin people because I don't speak it. I can try to learn it and then find out, hey, what the heck's going on there. But so far, we have a little foothold in Hong Kong. I'm not sure how long that's going to last, but we'll just have to see. See, chess players are universal because it's universal language. It's actually played in China, Iran, around the world. And bringing us to chess players in the great country of San Francisco, I wouldn't say San Francisco is really a city. It's really a country in of itself. It might as well segregate itself out and say in the country of San Francisco. Jim Eade, what's going on in the great country of San Francisco?
There is a bubble around San Francisco. And, I lived in San Francisco quite a while. I'm still in the San Francisco Bay Area, but now it's more Silicon Valley. But the idea of San Francisco as part of California is kind of ridiculous because LA is so different from San Francisco. Right. You drive out an hour into the valley and it's a completely different culture. Yeah. So, I remember when my dad first visited me and he looked at the weather forecast and it said from 50 to 90. And he said, "What's that?" That's no weather forecast, but we have so many microclimates around us. Sure. Where you go towards the coast, it's cool. You go towards the valley, it's hot. And, but what I love about it is that there's, you can go to the ocean, you can go to the mountains. If you like snow, go to the mountains. If you like the ocean, go to the ocean. And nothing is very far away. You can immerse yourself into forests. So if you like trees, hang around the Muir Woods. There's
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite places. And, when you say beach and mountains and snow, and one day, many years ago, back in 1984, 85, when I was working there for Nortel, I literally went from the beach that afternoon into the mountains where it was snowing that evening. It was just like in one day, it was amazing. From bathing suit to snowsuit. Literally.
Yeah, it should be called the country of Silicon Valley, and because it really, okay, listen, it has nothing to do with the United States of America, has nothing to do with even Southern California. Seattle disavows it. That's the reason Bill Gates moved to Seattle. So it's really a country in of itself. And the state of California is the 9th largest or 4th largest world economy.
Yeah,
I mean, it's huge. And these the wireheads over there control our whole world. We kind of get that, but as I was telling Kim, when you're looking for capital, okay, money to expand your business, Raleigh Durham, Research Triangle Park, we got Duke, North Carolina State, and we have 0.075% of venture capital that goes into the world. Silicon Valley, 40%.
I can't drive anywhere without passing
almost half. So anybody who's listening, any startups who are listening who never listen because they know everything and they have to ask all these questions, they never do anything. They're paralysis by analysis. I understand. They're called engineers. Okay. And they just don't get it. That's the reason the people that get wealthy are not the engineer generally. Well, it'll be someone else. But if they're listening,
I have a question for Tim.
You moved to San Francisco. I left my bank account in San Francisco upon a hill. Okay. Now, if you're interested in media, you go to LA, and that's it. Okay. And everything else, forget about.
Well, but we learned that 80% of venture capital in general, 80% of the venture capital is in California, right? So San Francisco carried the majority of it. Spread out. You would think LA had it, but LA is mostly the media and the entertainment. 10%. So Silicon Valley in itself became famous for technology until Research Triangle Park came around. But Research Triangle Park didn't know how to manage the money. They got greedy and they died. They literally, it is a ghost town. Nick, you've driven through it. It's a ghost town. There's no more buildings left. They literally, 10,000 people at the top. In each building, 10,000 people.
They keep trying to work it to being other than IBM TV. We're the latest and greatest creation of Research Triangle Park. We are the greatest creation of Research Triangle Park. Everything else is a ghost town, and that's the reality. So,
and the thing is, people thought they were.
What, Ankit?
What about the BART? Because Silicon Valley, everyone knows that California is equivalent to a state or a country because they have so much of economy and a lot of things going around when it talks about innovation and things like that. But when you use a BART train in California, that is still the old train. There are no upgrades. There is no innovation.
You don't expect us to the BART train. Our trains are old. Of course they are. Come on, you got to go to Japan, or if you want.
That's hitting a hot button for me. Okay. Because
I don't understand.
Okay, it's all Jim's fault that the trains are old and decrepit.
Actually,
in America.
It's the metropolitan city's fault because nobody can agree on anything, and you need a lot of agreement to put together a high-speed train. And nobody says, "I want to stop here. I want to," not in my city. And so we can't just politically agree on something that it seems so commonsensical to us.
I know.
But Ankit, there's a systemic problem with the country of Silicon Valley, which you don't have in Bangalore or Hyderabad. Okay, seriously, this is a serious problem. Okay, you're going to listen to this. This is my prophetic, futuristic thinking. Just like Bill Gates said, there's going to be a pandemic. Okay, in Bangalore, they may have typhoons. All right, maybe, but a little rain ain't going to hurt you. In where he's at. In Silicon Valley, they have the San Andreas Fault. And sooner or later, that whole city is going to go bloop down into the gully of fire of death. And they'll all be gone. So why would you want to spend billions of dollars on a train system underground that's going to be crushed by an earthquake? And that's really what's going on.
Well,
right?
earthquakes are the thing that prevents a lot of people from coming here because, I can remember thinking, oh, there's an earthquake. I'm shaking. And then a minute, or not a minute, but seconds went by that seemed like an eternity to me. And I said, oh, that's not just an earthquake. And it was the earthquake that took down highway systems and, caused a great deal of devastation here. There's still ramps off the highway that have not been rebuilt from that earthquake.
Yeah, right. Okay, so Ankit, here's the thing this is the thing that really bothers me, the juxtaposition of this one. Would really intelligent people live in a city that could be swallowed up into the ground in an instant without your notification? Would really intelligent people do it? The answer is no. Okay, so what happens, you get these real smart but not super smart people, because the super smart people are going to leave San Francisco and go somewhere else because they don't want to be swallowed up by a stupid bloody
Some
earthquake.
of the smartest people in the world live in San
Wait, okay.
Francisco.
And
They have two homes. They have two homes where they live, where they can have peace of mind.
Yeah, exactly. They have two. Usually have multiple homes. I learned that.
You got to think about this. All the venture capitals in San Francisco, so that's why they live there. But Ankit just experienced an earthquake last week.
I didn't tell you.
Yes,
Those earthquakes aren't San Francisco.
While on the show, we had experienced the earthquake.
It was right on the show. It
It was on the show. You had an earthquake on
Yeah.
the show.
right on the show.
Okay, guys. How are you able to produce that? Okay, guys, how do you produce that? Rakesh, what do you got? He's got his
Last week, while Jacinda Ardern was addressing a TV show, there was a 5.4 magnitude earthquake. And, we have about 100 earthquakes a day in New Zealand. So, hey, there are lots of people living there.
Okay, yeah, but see, lots of people. Come on, lots of people living there. There's like 3 million people, maybe 5 million, live in the whole bloody country.
Fine.
There's more sheep.
A suburb of New York has more people in the whole country of New Zealand. Let's get real, okay? We love your country, but the only people who live there are sheep, and there are lots of sheep. Okay, there are no people in New Zealand. Just get over that. Those are just sheep caretakers that live there. That's
That's
it.
the tour.
What are we
of-
doing here in New Zealand? Well, we're either going to film The Lord of the Rings or we're going to watch our sheep. One or the other. But that's it. That's New Zealand. I've been there. Come on. My wife went to high school in Whangarei, north of Auckland. So we had to go back and look at the school bus that was built in the 1930s, because that's what they still drive today. I was going, you're kidding me. What about the washing machine? They use Ringer washing machines. I didn't even know they existed anymore. That's New Zealand. They're in a time warp. They're in a time warp way, way back there into the 1800s.
It is beautiful, though. It's a beautiful country.
It's a beautiful country, yes. I think I considered buying the whole country at one point in time, knowing that I'll have to be able to buy the bloody sheep, okay, because the people will come with it, no extra charge. Okay, so that's New Zealand. So you just got to get over what New Zealand really is. And I know you love your country. I love New Zealand too. A lot of people. I mean, how can you hate a bunch
All
of sheep?
black.
Come on, how can you hate a bunch of sheep on a green island? Come on. So,
Nick, but listen, I'm thinking about something. If New Zealand would recognize ships who live in New Zealand for 3 years or longer and give them citizenships, all of a sudden you would have 55 million.
oh, that's right. That's right. There's more sheep than there are people in New Zealand. I mean, and that's the reason you bolted to Hong Kong, because hey, a real city. I didn't know those existed. Yeah, it's called Hong Kong, buddy. Okay, what about New Zealand?
No. No. I left New Zealand only because my wife wanted to come back to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have
The old
stayed in New
story.
Zealand.
I wanted to
The
live in
old
the
story.
city. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. Okay, now I got something for you guys. Okay, because you probably didn't hear about this around the world, but we had this dude got killed by a cop in Minneapolis, and they showed it on YouTube. It was really bad. I mean, there's no doubt about it. This guy really pulled a number, and he was a Minneapolis cop.
Well, we got telephone technology to thank for.
Well, I know. I watched. I was going like,
real fast.
wow. You know, if you're a defense attorney, you got a real big problem on your hands with that one. And so what happened was there was this whole thing. Hey, cops are bad. Blah blah blah. But I want to bring this up to you because this is, or at least a problem in our cop community, and everybody here should be familiar because this is smart television, right? The famous case, Jordan versus the city of New City of New London. Are you all familiar with that case? Jordan versus the City of New London. No, we haven't read that case. Okay, so I'm going to brief you on it, counselor. All right. This actually took place in the year 2000 in the United States. Remember, there's a city called London. It's over in England. We have a city in Connecticut called New London. All right. And what happened was there, and you'll love this case, and all the guys in the high IQ department will love it too. There's a guy named Jordan who actually took an IQ test. This is a true case in 2000. And he scored above the norms necessary to become a cop. And what they said is if your IQ exceeds 125, you're not allowed on the police force. Okay, most people here have never read the case. Of course, I read everything, so I read that case. And so what happened was the cops go, you can't be on the police force. Why not? Your IQ's too high. What? So what he did is he said, this has got to be wrong legally, you would think. So what happened was he sued the City of New London to get on because his IQ is too high. It went all the way to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals, which is right below the Supreme Court of the United States. And you know what the ruling is? Yes, the city can do that. Your IQ is too high. You can't be a cop. Bang. Okay.
Good thing I never wanted to.
America, baby. The reason you have stupid cops is you're not allowed to have smart cops, at least in the City of New London. However, all the police forces around the country know that. Now, here's the rationale. Their rationale was if you're too smart, you're going to quit the police force, and we don't want to spend all the time investing in you. Okay, that could be the rationale, but in reality, this is what got me. When you're done with this show, go Google Jordan, like the country of Jordan, versus the City of New London, and read that case. And I was going to present it to my high IQ society and saying, look, you high IQ morons, you may be able to discriminate on race. You may not be able to discriminate on race, sex, or gender, but you can discriminate on IQ. If you're too smart, on you, baby. And then the Second Circuit Court of Appeals upheld it.
And we wonder why we don't have an
write it down.
in our
Jordan
country.
versus the City of New London. It is a great case.
A lot of people
And
don't.
it is the problem that we have in the police force because you're not allowed, at least in that case, it may have permeated through other police forces, to have smart people involved. And so what do? You get basically stupid cops with stupid ideas and stupid decisions, and that's what happened.
I'm not making it up, folks.
In the case of George
Did you
Floyd,
Google it, Jim?
I did, and you're
Yeah.
not making it up.
Of course, I'm not making
No,
it up.
Jim doesn't make anything
Come
up.
on, man. You know, see, the thing is,
Nick,
125 is considered well above average.
US.
Okay, if you're on a, but see, anytime a person looks at IQ test, they don't understand IQ test in general, because when they say 125, I always go, wait a minute, is it a Cattell, is it a Wechsler, or a Stanford Binet? That should be your first question. Okay, and if you don't know the answer to that question, then you have no concept on psychometric testing, because they norm differently. If you're a Wechsler, okay, and I'll relate to Jim. 2200 on Lee Chess, chess.com, FIDE, or USCF.
Yeah,
They're
completely
different.
different. Right.
Absolutely.
They're
Absolutely.
meaningless comparisons.
Right. There's a difference. If you're a master on Lee Chess, doesn't mean you're a USCF or a FIDE master. It's all different. In IQ, it's the same thing. It's not your number, your 3-digit number. It's what test did you take? Because the Wechsler norms at 160. You can't go above that. Okay, you have to do the Mega or the Titan. Otherwise, you're not getting above it. So they end at like 160. That's it. But a Cattell, a 160, you could have a 120 and be a 160. So it norms differently. I'm not sure what norm they use, but see, this is the general, because they didn't say in the case. You can go ahead and read the case. It's kind of interesting. But with the general attitude that if you're too smart, you can't be a police officer. I just feel like.
And I want to point something out is for the past 20 years, there have been a lack of trust, of course, between law enforcement, the justice system, and the community. The community, period, not just the African Americans or race or color, but the community in general. And I've had issues with them as well. And when I mean them, I mean the justice system and the law enforcement. And if you don't believe me, go sit for 2 or 3 days in a domestic violent courtroom and see the injustice of our system just against women. We have two very but
we have
no
two
trust.
expensive systems here. Our health system, which we were just shown to be a failure. We have a legal system, very expensive and has a lot of issues, could be a failure too. We also have two legal systems people don't know about. One is the criminal system. If you're black, that's what you experience. The other one's the civil system, which is a private legal system, which if you're white, that's usually what you experience. People don't know that, but it's just like this. What was this guy's crime? He was counterfeiting a $20 bill. Okay, I've had personal experience, and he was a black person counterfeiting a 20. I've had personal experience trying to get people in jail for embezzling $6,000 to $147,000. The cops will not arrest them because they're
white.
Could be because they're white. In
No,
other words,
it is because they're white.
embezzle it,
And
you're
this
white.
is what they tell us
You're
because we're white and rich. They think we're rich. We're
Well,
not.
they push you on,
But
they
they
push you
tell
to the
us this
civil
is a
system.
civil matter. You need to take
It's
it
a
to
civil matter.
court.
I've had that happen to me
To
often.
me, there's
more
a
often
Every
more
single time. Every single time.
Yeah,
Riled
yeah,
right to the till.
civil and
They
criminal.
rob
Yes,
right
and
to
good.
the
What do
Quick
you got?
question. A quick question. If the cop is black, still he does the same thing?
No, well, yeah, because they're
We
they're
don't
all
know.
trained. They're all trained the same way. You know, in term. See, the civil matters. Gosh, what do they call it? Okay, argumentatively, that crime could have been pushed to a civil matter because there was no violence. Remember, what he did is he was counterfeiting or
Counterfeiting
purportedly
money.
counterfeiting money, and I say purportedly because
White
there was
collar
no
crime.
evidence to prove.
this
Right,
this
Right, and usually,
Non-violent. Non-violent.
yeah, usually what they would do is they'd say,
No.
okay, this is a civil matter. You need to take this up to court, get this guy's name and address passed along, and they would be out of there. Okay, but that's
this
not how
this case is a little more complicated, Nick, because both of these people knew each other. They worked in the same nightclub. Somebody else arrested this gentleman, Mr. Floyd.
Sure.
He was handcuffed and he was cooperative. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, Mr. Chauvin arrived. And then within 8 minutes, this
Killed
man was dead. There's
Right.
something Mr. Floyd knew that Mr. Chauvin wanted to keep him from revealing to the world. That's
Yeah.
why this is a first
Yeah.
degree murder.
Yeah, you're. I mean, you're going to
I
find out.
agree.
But
I
see, at
agree.
the end of the day,
I
it's,
agree.
it's murder or manslaughter. I mean, at the end of the day, but see, the thing is, what the real problem is, there is a systemic legal problem in our criminal justice system, which I thought after going through law school that and 30, 40 years later they would have solved, but that's not what happened. Okay, in other words, our legal system hasn't improved much in 40 years. And so, yeah, I made joke by having, judges be robots and bots and remove people from the system. But it may be a better system that way. And see, the thing is, because the average person doesn't know what the problem is, all they can do is protest and riot. Because they don't even know. Because we don't give legal education.
Yeah, they're two separate things. The protests and the riots are two separate things.
Yes,
I know they're two
One
separate
side
things.
you
Right?
have
Protests
14 million
is
people out of the
legal,
job,
riots are
just want
illegal.
to get some money any which way
Right.
they can.
Right.
Those are the rioters.
Sure.
And then you have the protesters who are really, feeling fearful.
Right. Yeah. Who are demonstrating
And
that.
is this an act of someone that paid them to do it as well? Because that has been known to happen.
Let's go to criminal law and criminal justice, the criminal procedure. Okay. In law school, I took criminal law and criminal procedure. Okay. In elementary school, did you take criminal law and criminal procedure in elementary school?
No, I was not trained on that.
Did you take it in high school?
No, I was not.
Why not?
Law was not available to me, nor was
There you go. Okay, you can stop right there, counselor. It's not available to you. Is chess available to elementary students today?
Yes.
Is chess available to high school students?
Yes.
Okay. Why do we do that when we know high school students and elementary students aren't intelligent enough to learn chess?
Yeah, my experience was I would go to principals and say, "I'll teach chess for free." And they would look at me.
You had to go teach them. See, here's the problem. There's a myth out there that our elementary school students and our middle school and high school can't understand criminal law. Okay, and that's a myth.
I can't.
Okay, the teachers don't know that to teach them that, and we could teach criminal law and criminal procedure to elementary, middle school, and high school students. Unfortunately, the teachers don't know that because they've never been trained to teach them that.
Do you know
But
how
they should know
complicated
that
our laws
because then they would know. They would know a lot about criminal law and criminal procedure. There's no reason for them not to know. It's just like chess. And could an elementary student know this? Absolutely. Then they go, well,
My problem was I couldn't understand my teachers. You know, I could have understood law, I could have understood financial fitness, but the
Yeah.
people teaching me, I
Exactly.
couldn't understand them.
it is another failure in our education system. And so when they were saying that, hey, we're going to move education online, oh, no, you can't do it. You got to have these old 18th century classroom. Here's the reality. You could have online a person to teach criminal law to an 8th grader. Seriously, online, because your teachers aren't educated enough to do it. And then you could have all the students know the difference between a riot and a
protest.
one being legal, one being not legal. There are, and by the way, there's so many fine points in the law that a good lawyer could teach and scale it basically throughout the United States, or frankly throughout the world. But the thing is, we don't do that. And years ago, I read a study that said, hey, look, the top teachers in the world are going to be, or in the United States, are going to be paid a lot because it can be scaled using through the internet, and that never happened. Because we have a vested interest in keeping our same old idiotic system, school system that existed literally in the 18th century. Seriously, that's how we teach students today.
Well, that's because I witnessed a hearing recently, and any legal system should be such that a common person of every day could come in and represent themselves. If it's a free, good legal system, I'm not talking free for money. I'm talking about a freedom, right? But it's not. I sat there and watched the judge chastise a common, everyday, hardworking American for coming into his courtroom and taking up his time, because this is a federal courtroom. We are very serious here. And if you don't understand our laws at our level, but it shouldn't be that way. That man should have had a right to come in and represent himself as a common man. He doesn't have $100,000 to pay a freaking lawyer in this country.
Kim, remember I told you about the case Lexus, buy LexusCars.com versus Lexus, okay? In case you want to read. Let me tell you, buy LexusCars.com versus Lexus.com. All right. If you read the case, it was very interesting. Judge Kolzinski from the Ninth Circuit, who I've argued before, that's how I got my case to the Supreme Court of the United States, who's no longer a judge because of doing things that are we're not going to comment at this point in time about. But anyway, when they actually lost at the lower court, when he appealed to the Ninth Circuit, he went pro se and beat Lexus on the trademark issue. Great case.
It takes a lot of work. I'm gonna tell you what, you just can't walk into that courtroom and that judge expects you to know every freaking law. And I will guarantee you, the attorney, I already figured it out. The attorney and the judge were sitting there giving each other cues, and they ramsacked this guy in a heartbeat. And that should never happen in our court system. Never happen. Never.
I left
Insider lawyering.
And if I ever become a millionaire again, I am going to go after the court system. That's where I'm going to go. Because it's our courts and our laws that make everything wrong in this country. Everybody goes, "Oh, this is why we're free." No, we're not. We're indentured slaves. You know,
I would like to
got a letter from someone.
Okay. Now we got some protests going on, Jim. What do you have to say?
I wanted to circle back to what Rakesh brought up, is that may very well have been a first-degree murder, but there is no way that he would have been convicted for that.
No,
so he's charged with a lesser charge because there's a possibility
he could get convicted if they have traffic of who tipped him off that this man was arrested, because there are the other guys who arrested him and tipped him off. When you see the video, this guy was sitting quietly in his car with another guy inside. The place, the 7-Eleven or whatever convenience store